I think Charlie is now going to come talk to us on the plan as well. And I think you want to use this stone, Charlie, don't you?
Good morning, everybody. Thank you so much for thank you, first of all, Mark, and thank you, everybody, for the invitation to share with you this morning. Kevin asked if I might like to say a few words about the composition and the idea behind it. And I'm taking a tune I wrote around 8 years ago, originally for concert band, and that I recently sent over to John Daniels over in the States for his arrangement. Now, for those of you who don't know, John is my musical writing partner living in Texas, with whom I've been collaborating over some 23 years. May I digress for a moment and just mention Agatha Christie? Some of you may well be avid readers of her work, but I wonder how many of you know anything about the lady behind the typewriter. 2 of the 3 books that I took recently with me to France were biographical. One, an amazing account of her mysterious disappearance for 11 days in December 1926. The other, her autobiography, which she wrote over a period of some 15 years, and which ironically makes no mention at all of her disappearance. She kept it really, really quiet. I don't think she ever spoke about her disappearance. She was asked many times where the idea for a story came from, and I'd just like to share something from her autobiography with you. She says, "One wonders where these things come from. Sometimes I think that is the moment one feels nearest to God, because you've been allowed to feel a little of the joy of pure creation. You've been able to make something that is not yourself. You know a kinship with the Almighty, as you might on the 7th day when you see that what you have made is good." I was really struck by that. I've been asked many times what is the inspiration behind a piece of my music, and often it's not easy to point to a particular source. A lot of my pieces were written in the mid to late 1980s while cycling the lanes of Suffolk, so they're fairly easily defined. Just soaking up the beauty and peace of the landscape while cycling for miles and seeing nothing but farms and churches, I did find incredibly inspirational. But I found that inspiration can come at really odd and unexpected times. Washing up, for example. I love washing the dishes because it gives a wonderful opportunity to reflect. And I always have my trusted little voice recorder to hand. I hope nobody ever gets hold of this and has to listen because it's full of hums and ditties and there we are. Always have that to hand. But what I do know, and can be absolutely certain, is that God has fed me. He's not only planted seeds for a song or tune, and I felt this particularly strongly when sitting at the piano improvising or doodling or tinkling, as I like to call it. And it's just wonderful to be able to sit and just see what comes. Absolutely wonderful. But he's also taken over my playing during performances. I can recall a number of occasions when giving a concert or recital where it has felt as though my arms and hands have been on strings. And I can tell you that that is an amazing and wonderful feeling. So let's get back to this piece. I remember one morning I was over at Lancing's, just the other side of Worthing, some of you may know it, and I began singing a short melody with the words, "I'll see you later." Now please forgive my dreadful singing, you'll know why I'm not a member of the singing group here. It went, "I'll see you later." It was simply those 5 notes. I'm not sure that there's any particular reason why, and I really don't actually know where it came from, but it was there. Now, what is crucial in good melody are really a number of things, but particularly two things: the sequence of notes and the timing. And at that moment, I just felt as though I'd hit upon something that could be developed. And sure enough, out came the little voice recorder. And as soon as I could, I went to the piano to doodle, and it began taking shape. I chose the key of G major, because it seemed to fit. I could hear in mind a trumpet taking the lead. I thought it should have a fairly simple and straightforward verse-chorus construction, because I like things that are simple and straightforward, and a change of key. Now, a change of key can really add something quite dramatic to a piece, and I think it does in this case. I hope you agree, because you're going to listen to it in a minute. And it wasn't overly long. I didn't want it to be long. It's just over 3 minutes, which I think is a perfect length of time for a piece. As for a title, well, I wasn't sure that I'll See You Later was quite right, although it would have been okay. I've always loved the concept of time. One of our albums is called A Time for All Things. And I decided to call this one Till the Next Time. So a few weeks ago, I shared the piece with John over in Texas and asked if he would like to do an orchestral arrangement. Now, invariably, when I email piano tracks over to John, I give him a kind of carte blanche, if you like, to compose an arrangement. Almost all of our tracks have had the piano as the lead, and in the case of the piece you're going to listen to now, with a fairly full brass section, John felt that the piano should still be the central instrument. Occasionally I will give him some pointers, perhaps a preference for a particular instrument or some guidance regarding highs and lows that I have in mind, where a tune might build and then come back down again. I really like that in a piece. But he is the one with the talent, the skill and the experience of arranging and orchestrating, so I tend to say, over to you, John, give it the JD treatment. I'm sure I call it the JD treatment. And I always ask God to feed and inspire him. Now, one of the difficulties that poor John has had to cope with and to work around with me is the fact that I always found it impossible to record to what we call a click track. It's a kind of metronome running in the background. Now, click track is particularly important for percussion in order to keep the rhythm going. And I think John's skill really comes across in this case because there was no click track. I've always felt that the absence of a click track has given my playing fluidity, more of a natural flow, if you like, and a playing style that is not restricted to the regimented nature of the click track. So I've always tried to feel that as a positive. If you listen carefully, you will hear a short section around halfway through where there is a wavering in the tempo in my playing. But I think John mastered that really well, and that's down to his skill. So sit back, listen out for the change of key and the wavering in my playing, and enjoy the piece. But as always, I would hope that you not only enjoy it, but you will really feel something, that you might be moved in some way. And in true top of the pop style, I'm going to sit and play over the top, but I'm going to turn the volume down. I think Kevin's going to turn down the volume on the speakers. Thank you.
music is put together and composed, and the collaboration with the arranger. Yeah. So now, according to my